Okay, happy Spiritual Sunday. Here we go. We're going strong. Yay. Very nice. Okay. All right, well, let's get started. So we want to start because we want to change our consciousness and we want to change the consciousness of the world. And the only way to do that is by what we're about to learn. What we learn here in the center is from the get-go. Your first moment in the center is how you're going to make your life better. But you can't make your life better if you don't understand how you have already, with limited consciousness, limited awareness, and falling into the illusion, we call it, of the five senses, how you've allowed yourself to fall into chaos and all the discord in the world. So this is why, as we're about to do, we're going to say together our affirmation. Oh, yes. Because I want to make sure that we're repairing what goes on in our brain. So let's just say it together and then we'll see what comes out this morning. Together, consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. And it certainly is a very special day to do that. So it's the full moon. I know what you were thinking. So it is the full moon. It is the 21st anniversary of 9/11, 2001. And what I'd like to get into this morning is how we can look at those events and add in the factor of reincarnation that maybe, well, not maybe, with great certainty, as we will all apply these principles, our lives will get better. And as we've spoken about the last few weeks, when our life gets better, automatically the entire world gets better. Because there's no distinction, as Rav Ashlag makes it very clear from all the great Kabbalistic writings of the Zohar and the great Kabbalists before him, that there is no distinction between the individual and the collective. You know, the old idea is, well, they say this, or they did this, or that. Who are they? You know, I was talking to somebody recently, said something about distinguishing between America and Americans. And I basically had the conversation, no such thing. There is no America without the people that we would call Americans, is there? There's no such thing as Canada without considering Canadians. What would happen? Well, let's go back a few thousand years, even let's say before the Native Americans, when there was literally nobody in this land we call America. Was there really an America? No, there was land. So until people came to establish something called America, or Britain, or I don't know, China, or Russia, or whatever it may be, without people, there's no such thing as a country. Without people, there's no such thing as a city. In fact, without people, there's no such thing as the Kabbalah Center. There is, as I was taught 35 years ago by my teacher, the Rav and Karen, the Kabbalah Center is an idea in the mind of God. That's why there will always be people, there'll always be a Rav and Karen, there'll be teachers, there'll always be people filling in the center. But until there are people, there was no center. Karen was the one who said, okay, here's an idea in the mind of God, and she and the Rav said, now we're going to make it manifest by bringing people to this wisdom. And fortunately for us, we have learned for 100 years now how to take anything and everything comes our way and turn it into good. And that's what I'd like us to do, but we have to see the world in a new way. And that's really what it's about. So if I ask you, you look back, and I'll tell you a quick story about 9/11. You know, it's 21 years ago today. It literally changed, I believe, it made a quantum change in the world. I mean, there was World War I, World War II, we say, oh, there was world this and this and this. But I truly believe, if you think back in simple terms, from 9/11, 2001, everything became global. Everything. Global economy, global politics, I don't know, global warming, global this, everything was global. Meaning, really, everybody is in it. There's no distinction between the individual and the collective that we can see today. Whatever people do all over the world, it's affecting someone else, something else, somebody else, somebody else. Even they say, just coming to me now. Isn't there something called the 6 degrees of separation? You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Ultimately is 8 billion people. So we're learning here with greater clarity and from its original understanding how that works. But let's start with this. If there's a change in the world since 9/11, what? And I want us to think. How do we look at the world? With what faculties do we perceive the world? Because as we've spoken the last few weeks, how you see the world will determine how you live and what you experience. So it's important to come to understand, how do we see the world? How do we come to perceive the world? I mean, even you think simple. If I say, look outside or look around the world, how are you looking? First of all, you'd say, I'm looking with my eyes. I'm looking with my eyes and I see this, that, and the other thing. But then go the next step. How do you decide what that is? How do you decide if it's good or bad? How do you decide if it's going to be good for you or bad for you? So I want us to understand the only way that we can perceive the world is, well, let me give you an analogy, something we're probably all familiar with. Have you ever gotten up out of the wrong side of the bed? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. What does that really mean? You get up, and I think I've shared with you, since I came to have consciousness 35 years ago, I walked in the center, I'm thinking, which is the right side of the bed? Which is the wrong side of the bed? In 35 years, I tried the right side, the left side, this side, that side. That wasn't the difference. So when we say a person got up on the wrong side of the bed, what are we really saying? They must have woken up in a bad mood, because when we see them, or if it's us, we're in a bad mood. Little things upset us, irritate us a little more than usual. We have a little less patience for things. We're a little more intolerant, judgmental, whatever it may be. When we wake up on the right side of the bed, wow, the things that bothered me yesterday don't bother me so much today. I look at the world, I hear the news, I say, you know what, but it's going to be a brighter day today. So how do we perceive the world in the way that it impacts us? Through our own eyes and through our own filters. The beliefs, the experiences that we've come through. I mean, how many of you ever had somebody you have a discussion with, and I don't want to say you, one party is saying, all men are terrible, all women are terrible, all this is terrible, all that is terrible, and you say, really? That's not my experience. So why would they say something like that? Because they're seeing from their eyes, their experience, and therefore their belief system. So if somebody believes all men are bad, they're going to look around and see all bad men. If they look around and they say all women are bad, then everywhere they look, they're going to see bad. We all see only from our own eyes, from our own consciousness, from what's inside of it. That's why we learn consciousness is everything. So until we can start thinking about that and start truly defining and identifying, we're going to be stuck in the same loop. It's going to be endless loop, endless loop, endless loop, endless loop, same thing over and over and over again. So if you think about it, Karen Berg used to say like this, why do we need a mirror? What do we use a mirror for? Because God created it in such a way we can't see our own selves. We can't see our own face, right? We don't see ourselves. So we need a mirror to reflect ourselves, right? We don't see ourselves. So you look in the mirror, why? Because you got to see. Is your makeup messed up? Is your hair messed up? Do you leave toothpaste on the side of your lips? Something. Why? Because you use the mirror to reflect yourself. You don't look in the mirror and say, I want to see my friend, my family member, I don't know, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. No, I'm looking in the mirror to see me. But we can't see ourselves. We want to go out in public, at least I hope so, with the nicest appearance. So you want to make sure you look good, dressed well, everything else, and that's why you look at a mirror. So the Kabbalists just expanded out, and they say simply, the world is a mirror. When you look out at the world, you're seeing a mirror of yourself. I'll just give you a second to digest that, because that means like this. Why would we want to see the world this way? Because I know some of you right away, remember we have that little parasite of negativity in our head. No, the world's not my mirror. I'm a wonderful person, and look at all the bad stuff in the world. So how can it be a mirror? But you think about it, like we said, you use a physical mirror to be able to fix what's out of order, to fix what's in disarray, to fix what's chaotic and bring it into harmony and order. So if we can't look at the world that same way, we're not going to be able to fix our life. Unless you tell me you have no chaos in your world, you have no confusion, you're absolutely blissed out 24/7. Then, everything I'm telling you, you're already living, it's already there, nothing to improve your life. But if you have any form of chaos, any form of confusion, any form of discord or disarray in your life, then focus and let this be truth. Don't dismiss it and say, no, it can't be that way. At least be open. Don't dismiss it. You don't have to believe it wholeheartedly yet, but at least make an effort to apply it. Make it apply it. So like we said with the good side and the bad side of the bed, when a person is angry, if that's their inner consciousness, they are going to tend to see all kinds of things to make them angry. They're going to see angry people. They will relate and have resonance with everything that's angry in the world. So they see two people fighting out there. Oh, look, angry people. Why? Because that's in their eyes. If a person has jealousy, they wish they had what other people have. Guess what? The energy of jealousy inside them is going to point their vision and direct all their thoughts towards whom and what to be jealous of. Oh, look at that person. They think they're so great and wonderful, but they're really not. Right? They got that. They don't deserve that. I should have that. And right away they're sending all that jealous, negative energy towards other people. Why? Because they've created a resonance. They got up on the jealous side of bed. They will relate with everything that's jealous. They wake up. How many of you ever woken up and said, oh my God, I made so many mistakes, such an idiot, now I got to face this and this. So if one is judging oneself, what's the rest of the day going to be unless they change it? Judging everyone else and having everything else to see. They will see everything that they need to judge. It's like the half full, half empty glass. If a person, the usual outside of Kabbalah, the usual way to look at it is, are you seeing the half empty or the half full? Well, I'm an optimist, I see the half full. A pessimist sees the half empty. Well, then that's all they'll see. The optimist who's only looking at half full glass will look around the world. Yeah, it's sort of nice. They'll see all the good stuff. Look at that. That's great. That's wonderful. That's this and this. But if you think about it, they'll see, wow, isn't the sunshine great? And look at God's universe. Meanwhile, they're walking down the street and they run into a pole or they fall into a pit hole, a pothole. And they hurt themselves. Why? Because they're only seeing the half full side. They're not seeing the part that could be trouble. They're not seeing the part that's out of order that they could fix. So Kabbalistically, in the center, what do we say? Is the glass half full or half empty? Yes, we often say here, both. The glass is the glass. Because you filled it half doesn't mean that's all there is. It's a whole glass. So we're learning how to take the half full, focus on it, and reveal the light out of the half empty. Fill or reveal the part that's full in the rest of it that you don't see yet. But if a person waking up with their jealousy or their anger or their sense of insecurity, oh, not us, but some of the people you know who don't value themselves enough, feel a little insecure, have a low self-value. So what will happen? They'll look around the world. What will they see? One hand, they'll see everybody on earth who's better than them. They're better, they're better, they're better, they're better. And what else do they see? They'll see all the ways and means to beat themselves up. Say, hey, see, I'm not so good. I'm not so good. Look, that person doing this and this one doing this. And all my family members, look at them. They're rich, they're famous, they're this, they're something else. And oh, look at me. Right? Because affinity, like attracts like. Resonance. So then also on the opposite, you wake up on the right side of the bed, you're in a happy mood, what will you tend to see? Everything will be great. But because we're in the Kabbalah center, we won't fall into the pitfalls. We won't fall into those traps. Because as we move forward, seeing the light and channeling the light will show us where's the disarray and how to put it in order. Where's the chaos and how to bring it into harmony. It will help us fill the half-empty part by just removing the cover and showing to us what's always been there. Because the Creator created a perfect world. Read your Bible. Even though we know here the Bible is just a tiny piece on its literal level, but we still believe there was a literal Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and people like that. So there was a literal Garden of Eden. Creator's perfect, created a perfect Garden of Eden on earth. We foolishly did this foolish things as Adam and Eve, and I don't want to get into that part, right? And we created chaos. We got thrown out. For me, that's the key. They didn't destroy the Garden of Eden. You and me got thrown out of the Garden of Eden, and all the work we've been doing ever since is how to get back in to the Garden of Eden. That's our work. But the Garden of Eden exists. A person gets thrown out of Disney World, doesn't destroy Disney World, just means they have no access to it. They got to do whatever they have to do to make up to get back in. Right? Kid gets thrown out of school. They have to do something to make up to get back in. The school's not destroyed. So the Garden of Eden, heaven on earth, still exists. But we can't see it because we don't have those eyes yet. We don't have a resonance with it. Or, hopefully, as long as you've been in the center and you've been growing and evolving, you see more and more of it. You can see through some of the chaos. Yes, the Garden of Eden is here. It's over there. There's pieces. And we're working to assemble all the pieces. But meanwhile, let's start to understand everything, no exception. From your point of view, everything you see, everyone you see, everything that goes on is a reflection of you. Now, it may be true, because I know that little parasite we call the opponent is trying to get at you. He's a liar. How can it be? You're so kind and nice, and what about the nasty people in your life? You've been so giving and helpful, and all these people trying to be takers, right, and take advantage of you. How can he say it's a reflection? So let's understand. Unless anyone in this room, again, if you can say you're perfect and everything is hunky-dory and you're eternally blissed out and you have no chaos, no discord, okay, then I'm not speaking to you. I'm talking to all the rest of the 8 billion people on the planet. So Kabbalah 1 now we say, if you spot it, you got it. It's a nice little handy saying. When I was in elementary school, we used to say like this, if you're pointing your finger at somebody, how many fingers pointing back at you? 1 at them, 3 back at you. Didn't understand what that really meant, but we used to make fun of people. Now we're understanding. Kabbalah's teaching us, yes. But what's the distinction? They may be angry, spewing out hatred and vile things, and you and I look at ourselves, we don't do that, and maybe we don't. But has there never been a time, yesterday or the day before, when you, whether thought or said, you spewed out a little bit, that person, can't stand them. That person, they did that terrible thing. That person, you judge them. The person on the street doesn't give you your way. You scream and yell. Of course, in your car, you're safe because they can't hear you, right? But you're screaming at that other person in the car in front of you. Or you go to the store and you made a special trip, and by the time you get there, whatever you're looking for, they don't have in the store. Tell me you've never thought, how come? Who's that buyer? Why didn't they do it? Okay, so it may not be as extreme as some of the vile hatred that's going on out there, but it's the same material. One is just less intense, one is more intense. One is a 3-watt light bulb, and one is a 3 million watt light bulb. But light is light. So impatience is impatience, whether 5 watts or 5 million watts. Jealousy is the same thing, whether 5 watts or 5 million watts. It's all the same thing. So you and I are learning, if you really want to improve your life, you cannot afford to hold any thought that says, well, maybe it's random, it's coincidence, that just happenstance. No. You know what the Kabbalists say? I just read a story from the Baal Shem Tov, one of the great Kabbalists that I admire tremendously. And he was teaching this guy, he was teaching some of his students, he says, even the way a leaf blows in the wind is directed by providence. Not predetermined in that way, like we say, oh, it's all predetermined, I have no free will. No, we have free will. But nature itself, so he would say, as he's talking, here comes a little leaf, because he's saying how nature tends to support itself, sustain itself. We have to learn from nature how to do the same thing. The difference is we have free will. So as he's speaking, here's this leaf blowing, and it stops, and all of a sudden as they're watching it, a worm comes out of the ground, starts feeding on that leaf, and it goes back in the ground. He says, see? Everything is exactly providence, cause and effect. Everything is exact. So because human life has free will, it's our job, we have to work to see that providence. We have to work to understand that that person who just looked at me and said something not so nice, I needed to hear that because it's a reflection of me. Have I never thought anything not nice about people? I'm not sure whether I like the fact you're shaking your head yes or no, but okay. Yeah, it's true. Okay, along the way, yes. Yes, still. But I've learned, and I think I shared with you, and I don't want to go through it now, but since, let's say, last Sukkot, late September, I've been unable to hold that thought very long. Yeah, I still point the finger and I still have this, but because of that experience that I saw clearly, everything is a reflection of me. The moment I start to point the finger, I feel this sort of smack in the head, and what about you? And what about you? And what are you going to do to change you? How can you see that in you? Like you look in a mirror, right? How do you fix what you see in the mirror? So that's what I've been learning. And that's the only thing that will give us the greatest advantage. So now, let me throw in this. So we have, Kabbalistically, we talk about something called tikkun, correction. It's an Aramaic word for correction. Correct our mistakes. Some of you may be familiar, if you're not in the center very long, karma. The same idea. Karma comes back, right? The mistakes we made have to come back. We have to fix them. All right, so that's what the tikkun process is. So whatever mistake we made, it's going to keep showing up until we fix it. Think back on your life. That's why there are repetitive patterns. Have you not noticed in your life, if you look back, the same sort of experience? You have that person in your social circle that 20 years ago there was somebody and you cut them out of your life because they were always saying nasty things or speaking gossip or whatever it was. You didn't change. You didn't get rid of your aspect of speaking gossip, let's say. So the next year you're in another social circle and guess what? Gossip and this, so you X them out of your life. And all of a sudden you think, oh my God, there's so many gossipers in the world because every social circle you're in, there's somebody gossiping. Hello? Wake up! If you have 10 experiences like that, who's the only person in common? Me, myself, and I. The world revolves around me. I'm the creator of my world. So if I don't change my magnetic force, even in my level of speaking gossip, I'm always going to attract gossipers. Yes, maybe I'm 5 watts and they're 5 million, but it's the same thing. It's there to show me, Chaim, even if you have 5 watts, it's too much. The Creator didn't give you any watts of judgment or jealousy or gossip. So change it, transform it. That's why it's there. So when I change, guess what? Now if I'm no longer radiating any aspect of gossip, I won't find gossipers. And somebody else in the social circle, oh, do you remember Jane? You hear all the gossip she spoke? I'd be saying, I didn't hear it. Because I have no resonance with it. Somebody who has resonance, they'll hear it. That's why the Kabbalists, the true Kabbalists, they could only see good in people. They didn't see the bad. And the beauty was, by awakening the good inside them, it made them change. Because as light wakes up inside of us, the original light the Creator put inside of us, as it wakes up, then we will be more influenced until there's nothing else we can do but act with greater light. Love, compassion, kindness. That was the Kabbalist. They could see the seed inside every human being on earth and water it, if you will, spiritually, till it grew and it blossomed. Wouldn't you like that to happen to you? Wouldn't you like to be that person who's just glowing, bright, happy, joyous, peaceful, prosperous, loving all the great stuff in life? Yes or yes? Yes. Exactly. So who's going to make it happen? And they stop doing that, and they stop doing that, and they stop doing that, and I'm going to be great. No, my friends. When you decide you are great and you show the world how great you are, then you'll see it. Up to that point, all we're going to get is our tikkun. We're going to get, what can I see in myself and change that? Now, one step bigger. If a person comes into this lifetime with certain mistakes to fix, and they don't fix those mistakes, so then there is a process called reincarnation. So just as day to day, things will repeat until we do them right, in a bigger picture, lifetime after lifetime. Otherwise, if a person doesn't hold the concept of reincarnation, I honestly don't understand how any person on earth could not believe the entire universe is unfair and unjust, and therefore have nothing but chaos in their life. Because if it's unfair and unjust, why bother? And therefore, yeah, they may be materially successful, but I guarantee you inside them, they're miserable. Because they're looking at things in their life that are miserable. Maybe they have bad health, maybe bad relationships. Oh, all the material, outer success, but no peace of mind. What about their kids? What about their family? What about this? What about that? How are they going to protect their money? Look at the market down. Ooh, bad. Look at the market up. Oh, great. Right? How many people out there are going to steal? Oh, whatever it is. Like will always attract like. What's inside us will always come out. So there is reincarnation. And you don't have to believe it, but at least do research. Don't just dismiss it. Because at some point you got to say, well, if Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and of course we know all the Eastern teachings always teach it, but study. If you're a Christian, go back to the origins of Christianity and see how reincarnation was there. If you're a Jew, go back and look at the origins of Judaism. Reincarnation was there. If you're a Muslim, go back and see in the origins of Islam that the reincarnation was taught. Yes, slowly over time it got cut out for all the wrong reasons. So people don't believe. So people say, well, in the East, Buddhism, Hindu, they talk about reincarnation, but we're Jew, Christian, and Muslim, so we don't. Yes, we do! Because that's the way the universe works. It works in reincarnation. Otherwise, how do you explain how children are born with all kinds of defects and problems, and people born in happy, prosperous and poverty or good situations in the middle of war zones and outside? How do you explain that? Oh, so you know what the opponent did? Now you have God to blame. See, if God were fair and God were just, everything would be great. There'd be no problems. Where was God in the Holocaust? Where was God in, Mao Zedong? Where was God in Stalin? Where was God in all these things? Where was God in our heart and soul and in the world around us? But we have free will. You're going to use the God in you or you're not going to use the God in you. You're going to use that power and let it out or you're not going to do it. That's in your hands. Don't look at God and blame God for it, and don't look at your neighbor. Well, they're not, I'm not. Hello, we think we're adults. That's the most childish behavior, isn't it? Johnny said bad to me. I'm going to say bad to Johnny. What do the parents say? Oh, that's it? Right? Johnny jumps off the pier. You're going to follow him? Yes. That's what most adults do. Look at what's going on in the world today. So here, if we're already now in reincarnation, so let me add something here. New eyes, new perspective, shift of consciousness. You ready? Shocking. I heard this about it must be 5-6 years, no, it's got to be more than that, 10 years ago at least, from Michael Berg in one of his classes. He reads from the great Kabbalist, the Ari, Rabbi Isaac Luria, which, just as a side note, this is the methodology that the Kabbalah Center teaches Kabbalah. It's called Lurianic Kabbalah. So the Ari wrote 500 years ago. See if you can follow with me, if you know a little of the Bible. So there was Jacob, the patriarch. He had 12 sons. One son, Joseph, through the whole story, and I'm not going to give you the story, but was taken down as a slave into Egypt, and through all of Joseph's certainty in the light, holding on the light, channeling light, he became second to Pharaoh. Basically, at that point, Pharaoh controlled the entire world at that time, and Joseph was in control. So he brought his family, his father, and all of his brothers, and all the family, brought him into Egypt, gave him the best part of the land, and they lived happily. The Ari says that the Egyptians at that time, when Jacob came into Egypt, those Egyptians that maybe had a little resentment, weren't so happy with these people coming in and having all the good or whatever it was, those people, 200 years later, were reincarnated as the Israelites who left Egypt in the Exodus after the 10 plagues. The Egyptians, who had some animosity, let's call it, towards the Israelites, reincarnated as Israelites. Now, what does it mean for me and you today? And this I would like to awaken us all. So let me give you a moment just to open your heart and just listen with your heart. Don't listen with your ears or your brain. Today, more than ever in my lifetime, in my perspective, there's more divisiveness and angry hateful, vile, violent divisiveness. So you and I, again, we may have 5 watts of it, so we're talking about that, but the same thing applies to everyone else. Pick an issue. Pick some issue that's going on in the world, in your life, that you have one perspective of, and you have maybe family, friends, loved ones who have, and take the other side of that issue. Okay, think of it. And think of how it annoys you, how it bothers you. And you're looking at them, why in the world can't they see truth? Why can't they see reality? Wake up! What do you think the other side's saying about us? Wake up! Why aren't you seeing reality? Why aren't you seeing the truth? How can you see what you're seeing? Well, we started, and that's why I want to start today. We can only see from our own eyes. So, like I told one of my close relatives that I love very much, and I tried to make it as neutral as possible, so that's what I'm going to use with us. If I'm tending to see blue, so everywhere I look, I see blue. If he's looking and he's tending to see green, then everywhere he looks, he's going to see green. Doesn't mean there's not blue and green, but I'm going to see the blue, he's going to see the green. Now I look at him and I say, how come you don't see blue everywhere? You look at that person, don't you see the blue of them? Look at this situation, don't you see the blue? And he's looking at me, what are you, nuts? If you would open your eyes, you'd see green. So think how you have that going on somewhere in your life. Now with you and me, yes, it's a little frustration, hopefully, not so much. We don't get so angry, we don't get so divisive. Or maybe we did. But out there, it's becoming extreme. Extreme. So you and I have the ability, as we keep talking about, we're the creators of our world, and we're impacting 8 billion people from our point of view. So we've got to realize, as you and I will change, we are changing the entire planet. We are changing all 8 billion people. The Rav said, it's nice, thank you. The Rav said on 9/11, a few weeks after 9/11, the Rav was in LA, and on a Friday night was addressing maybe 125 of us. And the Rav says, you know, on 9/11, 19 people changed the face of the planet. For bad, don't agree, but the Rav said, but they were in unity. I didn't like what they did. I don't agree with what they did, but they were in unity, and 19 people in unity changed the entire planet, 8 billion people's lives, for bad. And the Rav looked at us and said, we're more than 19 people. Why aren't we changing the world for good? Because we didn't have the unity. We didn't have the consciousness. That's what we've been waking up ever since. Consciousness to be able to change the world for good. That's why the center is always open to everybody. For 100 years, anybody who wanted to come learn. And the early ones, Rav Ashlag, who started the center, Rav Branwein, who followed him, they got beat up, physically beat up, for trying to bring Kabbalah to the masses. The Rav and Karen, they got beat up. Karen got smacked in the head with a baseball bat, sent unconscious to the hospital. Why? Because they were trying to teach people Kabbalah. Not because they stole, they did anything, no, trying to teach Kabbalah. So one of the people caught up in the negativity took a bat, hit her in the head, sent her to the hospital. Didn't stop them. Thank goodness for me, because 15 years later, I showed up in the center. I would have never found it. If there was no center, my life would be exponentially worse, probably. But, okay, so besides that, so pick your 2 sides, see your 2 sides of this issue, and realize the other person is actually just a reflection of you, and maybe you were them in a past life. Think about it. Who, and I'm going to say it, and I hope it's okay. My experience has always been, and again, generally, who are the most vociferous, the most vocal anti-smokers? Former smokers. Why? Because they've come to see that it wasn't good for them, and let's even say in the kindness of their heart, they want to make sure nobody else goes down that path. But sometimes it's overbearing, right? It's aggressive. It's like this. They're not sensitive to the other person. They're just taking their side, what they went through, and say, here, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, or whatever it is. Whatever we used to be, we're usually the most vocal about other people not doing it. Right? We used to be gossipers. So now we're out there. No, you can't gossip. Don't gossip. Don't gossip. What are you doing? Okay. So let's understand that. So then whatever the other side of that issue is that we're on, pause. Start to think, you know what? That was us in a past life. So the same way, we would want somebody to look at us and say, you know what? Have compassion. Have a little compassion. Right? Chaim obviously must have been wounded somewhere in his life or past lives, and this is why he sees that side. And I would want to look at the other person and say, you know what, maybe I was them in a past life, and because I was wounded, I was doing what they're doing, let me pause. Instead of being a criticism, instead of having divisiveness, why don't I use the tools, the light of the Creator inside me, and the tools we learn here in the center, why don't I become a spiritual healer? I told somebody something like this the other day, I'll tell you also. Let's say you have that person, and they used to be a friend, or they're a family member, or they're still a friend, hopefully, that didn't divide you up, although I've seen that too, shamefully, because one picked one side of a political issue, they got cut out, X'd out, they're dead to this other person, right, like that. They used to be good friends, 20, 30 years, and this, but suddenly, no, political thing, okay, no. So I told this person, I said, let's say this person you have this difference of opinion with. If you're walking down the street having this argument, I'm right, you're right, I'm right, you're right, and they fell and skinned their knee, would you look at them and go, I told you I was right, and make fun of them? Or would you immediately want to reach down and pick them up and brush them off and try and help them with a skinned knee? So why are we doing that with the issue? Especially now that we could see it's a good possibility that we were on that side last lifetime. And now we're on this side, not to keep lambasting them, but to be able to pause and say, no, let me do my tikkun. Fix my mistake of being on that side. Fix my mistake of looking at, from my side, the last lifetime. And screaming at the person that I am now. No, have compassion. Heal. Start to send light. Start to send light. How do you do that? Pause. Think. How can I heal them? Do what? Send light. Just start to send light. Why? Because light is the only power of protection. It's the only power of healing. It's the only force in the universe. There is no force of darkness. If I ask you right now, is it dark in this room? For those of you who are outside of Boca, just trust us. Hopefully you can kind of tell there must be light. Is there light in this room? Yes or yes? Yes. Close your eyes. Please close your eyes. Did the light get shut off? Did the light get shut off? No. But do you see the light? No. Not because there's no light, because you close your eyes. Okay, you can open your eyes now. Right? The light disappeared, not because it got shut off, because you closed your eyes. So when we are holding that negative thought from our past life, of their side of the issue, we've closed our eyes. Pause. Think, I don't want to close my eyes. I want to open my eyes. They're a reflection of who I used to be, what I used to be, how I used to act. Whether past life or this life. So let me send healing. Because if I take the light of God that's inside me and start shining it consciously out to their heart and soul, number one, what happens in my darkness? If I'm extending more light than I was doing 5 minutes ago, my world is brighter. And then when I look at all the rest of my life, it's also brighter. I have more clarity how to deal with this confusion I have, or this choice. How do I make the right choices? You shine light, you see which is the right choice. In the darkness, you can't tell. That's why we tend to make the wrong choices, because all we see is what's going to suit me now, right here in the first 10 feet. If I could see all the way down the 1,000 foot at the end of that tunnel, or the end of that choice, I'd have an ability to make the right choice. Truly the right choice. But if I only see the first 10 feet, I'm going to pick which? The desire to see myself alone. What's good for me now, what's comfortable for me now, what's easy for me now, what benefits me the most right now. And then when it all falls apart, like a bad habit. You ever gave in to your bad habit? Okay, I've given in to my bad habit. Okay, the moment you do it, oh, amazing. It's so great. 5 minutes later, why did I do that foolish thing? The guilt, the shame, where'd the good stuff go? It disappeared. That's the idea. The light is our only protection against chaos. The light is our only ability to heal. The light is all there is. Plain and simple. Close your eyes, you'll see what you see. Open your heart, the eyes of your heart, you'll see the reality. So this is all I'm asking us. Start to awaken compassion. Compassion for, and again, it doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it means that you have to reach and bond yourself to their soul. And as you wake up the light in their soul, they'll become also clear. You'll become more clear because you're emanating more light. You'll wake up the light in them, and even if you still disagree, but there'll still be love and kindness. There'll still be a sense of unity. Because we often remind ourselves, there's only one human being. We look like we're 8 billion, but there's only one soul. Our job is to bring all the pieces back together. So we've got to keep that in mind. And as I've told you, the Baal Shem Tov, one of my favorite Kabbalists, when you read the stories about him, as he revealed himself. In fact, it reminds me, as I'm about to tell you, of my teacher, the Rav and Karen. As they came out into the world to reveal Kabbalah to the masses, the same idea. A lot of opponents come. Because every time you're going to turn on light and shine light on people, the first thing sometimes people will see is they'll start to, because they start to feel that they should be changing and maybe they're doing the wrong thing, it's easy just to blame. Okay, I want to remember the best, but I want to tell you like this. So the way I used to explain this, so let's say there's a couple and one of them is on this very strict diet. In the middle of the night, the person on the diet sneaks into the kitchen, and because it's all dark, they don't really notice. They're not really conscious. So they walk into the kitchen, they reach into the cookie jar, right? They're in the dark, so they can't see it themselves. And as they're about to pull that cookie out of the jar, the light goes on in the kitchen, and their partner, their spouse is there. Now, let's be honest. Unless they're truly learning and really applying what we're learning, like hopefully we are, probably the first thing they're going to do is look at that other person. What, are you following me? Why are you following me down here? Why are you turning on light? What do you want? Instead of just saying, thank you for waking me up not to ruin my diet that I've been on with this cookie. Thank you. No, it's your fault, right? You made me put my hand in the cookie jar. You were making me about to eat the cookie. No, you understand? That's where we got to stop. So the Baal Shem Tov, everybody who was against him, who had enough care, even just care for that, who would meet with him and say, look, I just want to tell you why we don't agree with you. The Baal Shem Tov used to embrace them in love. He was never upset, never angry. In fact, to say, tell me everything. I want to hear everything because I want to share with you my perspective. The light of God, and how everything and everyone is filled with the light of God, and everything happens is the light of God, and everything is perfect. So he embraced them. It reminds me, maybe not quite in the same level, but in a certain way, and I hope this is okay, who knows anymore, but you go back a couple of 100 and some odd years, what I learned, and I'm only saying this, so if whatever else, hold this part. Abraham Lincoln, whoever opposed him, the people who opposed him, he brought them into his cabinet. Because he felt, if they show me a perspective I can't see, maybe we can bring the two together and make good for the country. So then the same with you and me. If that other person's opposing your view, at least pause, send them light, bring in, maybe you're not seeing things clearly. Take them as a mirror. Where's your anger? Where's your hurt? Where's your insecurity? Whatever it is, look at yourself, and the only way you can heal yourself is by sending light to the other person. So you're healed, they're healed. You're at least influencing them. So if we wake up now and we start to like I said, the world is heaven on earth. It's just we haven't seen it. We haven't uncovered enough of it. So we get little glimpses here and there. But there is a dimension where 100% peace on earth, 100% unity and love between all people exists. Here and there we feel it. We want to take those feelings and realize it's just heaven on earth is here in a dimension. It's here complete. It's just waiting for us, enough of us, to act with greater love and kindness and compassion, healing not only ourselves, but healing the other person at the same time. As we'll heal them, then we can pull, as we're raising ourselves out of the mud, the spiritual mud of this world, into the Garden of Eden, the heaven on earth that's in that dimension, that's here on earth, just in a dimension we're not seeing. As we raise ourselves, and enough of us will raise ourselves, we will pull every human being together out of the mud. And then we literally remove all the veils, all the curtains, everything that hides from our eyes in the world, this heaven on earth, and we can all live heaven on earth, Garden of Eden, peace, love, kindness, joy. eternal bliss, eternally, with the greatest joy and happiness and peace. God bless. Amen. So it's our time now, as we do every week, it's our time to basically pay forward. You know, I've been doing this 35 years, and I can't tell you that I feel I've paid back what I've gotten. Even after 35 years of teaching and teaching people and mentoring people, because what we get here is literally the infinite light. We get the ability to have heaven on earth. So giving back to help finish the job, if I can say it to you, is the least we could do, right? Appreciate what you're getting, how it's changing your life, and give equally. Because as you know, whatever you give is what you get in return. Whether it's love, kindness, and compassion, or in this case, if you give financially. We have to, yes, simple, physically we have to pay the bills, we have to support the center, but we're not here just to survive as an organization. The purpose of the center for 100 years was spreading this in all its various forms, the books of the Zohar, and bring people to the wisdom as you and I are learning, from Kabbalah 1 to Kabbalah 65. Because that's the only way people will wake up and realize how to be a better person, not only to themselves and for themselves, but like we said, simultaneously have to be good to everybody else. Because if I want more light, I have to shine more light. If I want more blessings, I got to shine more blessings. If I want more love, I've got to act with more love. I want more prosperity, I got to give more money. If I want more forgiveness, I got to give forgiveness. It's cause and effect. Nothing is coincidental. So that's why, for me, we always take this time, to bless our offering, but also just to share with you. Now I forgot the numbers I shared a few weeks ago, but there's like 80,000 or more people who've been able to take Kabbalah classes because of your support and the support of the generous people around the world who support the center. We have, in fact, I don't want to give you too many of the details, but like these little books, and books like it, even volumes of the sets of the Zohar. Today, because it's the full moon of Virgo, and then Virgo is the month of cleansing our negativity, doing a lot of our tikkun before the first day of Libra, which is the birthday of humanity. We have, I understood, about 3,000 people going throughout Europe and Asia today specifically to spread Zohar, to bring greater protection and a spiritual awakening to all the people that are in conflict on that side of the world. So it's this gift that you're about to give, and those of you online, let me give you this again, that you can go on the website there and you can give. It's your support that's affecting those people. And if you think about it, every pocket Zohar that gets handed out, even if it just saved one life, just one life, is it not worth your effort? Think about that. But every Zohar that goes out that saves one life, even that life already means they're not being angry or violent or hateful or spiteful towards maybe a dozen other people. And then those dozen people to another dozen, et cetera, right? It's like it's like an avalanche of goodness. It accumulates and grows and grows and grows and grows. And that's what we want to spread. So those of you here, please hold your gift in your hand. Those of you who are following with us online, please meditate with us, and then just go online and give. Give everything you can with an open heart and with love. So we want to be, first of all, most grateful for the understanding that it's the Creator's force, the light of the Creator, that gives us everything we have, that makes us who we are, that even gives us the ability to see the mistakes we've made, because then it is the power. The light is the power to fix those mistakes, to transform them from darkness to light and chaos to order and curse to blessing. And as we open the gates of our heart and reach inside, past the hurts that we've been holding ourselves prisoner in the depth of our heart, we want every person on earth to also be good people, to be manifesting that which the Creator created. Pure people, pure and perfect beings of light. expressing greater love and kindness and compassion also towards all human beings. And through this gift, empowering all the projects of the center, we are literally reaching to the heart and soul of 8 billion people, awakening the DNA of the Creator inside them, and enhancing and awakening the next levels of the DNA of the Creator inside us. And so with great love and kindness and true care, we send this out through the projects of the center to bring the end of all pain, suffering, and death. And revealing heaven on earth as it was in the beginning, and so we want to make it now in the end. And together we say, Amen. So I also want to do, as we've been doing, and again, please write, let me know what's going on with you, how these classes or meditations have helped you. So just write Facebook Messenger or email me. But we have one of the 72 names. Here you see it on the screen. Those of you who are newer to this, the Aramaic or the Hebrew letters are not creation of any human being or an invention or a construct. They came out of the endless world, as our soul did and took on a body. So when the light of God takes on a body, its primordial forces or configuration are what we've named Hebrew letters. So this, Resh, Yud, Yud, 3 of those nanoparticles of the light, portals to the endless light, to help us remove the hatred from our heart. And you may not call it hatred, but think of your impatience, a little bit intolerance, short-temperedness, whatever it is, we want to remove it from our heart. So just look at the shapes, let them be engraved in your mind's eye, and then I'll ask you, sitting comfortably in your seat, feet flat on the floor, hands comfortably on your lap, taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, hold the breath for a moment, exhale through your mouth. Letting the true breath of life, which is a manifestation of that light of the Creator, increasing its flow, its intensity, breathing it in, letting it flow from head to toe, and as you exhale, letting go of any blockages, removing the covers, the veils that had been hiding the light of your soul from shining out into your life and manifesting great blessings in your life. And allow this light, as you're breathing it in, to awaken the sleeping parts of your soul. And let's envision above our heads these energy forces of the light of God, Resh, Yud, Yud. See them shining, glowing and emanating this pure light from the endless world, the light of the Creator, the light of absolute perfection. The power to remove all the forces of hatred in all its various forms, in all its levels. Open your heart and open your mind to desire that this light of the Creator will remove the blockages, will free your heart from whatever prisons you have created, and envision these bright, shining nanoparticles of light. Resh, Yud, Yud. Let it enter through the top of your head. Let it shine throughout all of your head, moving down through the neck, removing all the veils and curtains, all the false beliefs about yourself and others, all the misperceptions of the world. Let the energy flow through your body, down your arms to your fingertips, through all of your torso. Resh, Yud, Yud. Through the hips, down the legs, to the bottoms of your feet. Feeling the power of transforming hatred to love, intolerance to compassion, insensitivity to care. Let that energy, love, compassion, true caring, fill your heart. Envision them removing, as the heart shining this light, all the prison walls disappearing. And let a beam of this light channel out of you, so it's flowing from above, through you, and shining out through your heart and soul, directly to the heart and soul of everyone you know, and seeing it beam through them to all the people you've had conflict with, directly to their heart and soul, with the energy, the intention of freeing their heart from the prison that it's been in, and awakening them to a true connection to the light of the Creator inside them. And then sending it out through them to the heart and soul of every human being on earth. To awaken and strengthen their awareness of the perfection in them, the true peace of the Creator that's inside. And strengthening their resolve to do those greater actions of sharing, shining light into their darkness, shining light to the heart and soul of the people they have conflict with. That the whole world, every human, is shining light to the heart and soul of every other human being on the planet. take note of the feeling that you have now, this greater sense of love, true unconditional love. How much it's grown inside you. The wonderful feeling of peace and freedom that it's awakening in you. And make this feeling so powerful, so clear in your heart and in your mind, that it strengthens your resolve to always act. When you're triggered, pause, remember this feeling, remember this new conscious awakening, and then resolve to shine the light, to be that spiritual healer for others. To allow all the curtains to disappear and the world appear as it did in the beginning, heaven on earth. And we'll take one more deep breath to anchor it in, and slowly exhale and open your eyes. Those of you here, thank you for joining us. Those of you online, thank you for being, I know some of you it's very late where you are around the world. Thank you for being with us. I wish you an amazing day, a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.